Welcome back, everyone, to the Elite Series League of Legends Division 2 with me, Daniel, and of course, Freshtana on my side.
Yeah, nice to be here. It's always a pleasure. And we had to really create a series already and hopefully to create series coming up soon. So be ready to have some fun here, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. And very important games also so far and still coming up. We'll take a quick look at the standings to see what has happened. And we can see that Wiftslovs has now moved up to the first spot as they took the win against Reapers Gaming, which are still in that fourth spot. But that might be one that they have to share at the end of the day if Pertinix Esports is going to win against Atlas, which might be looking good for them because last week Pertinix was already able to take down Dynasty, getting another loss on their counter. Dynasty of course, today totally redeemed themselves by winning against AURORA Esports, making sure that they are not getting too strong either, as they already did with Slovs, I think 2 or 3 weeks ago. So yeah, Dynasty really the killer of the Giants here, but also sometimes losing to those even a little bit lower teams. So yeah, very interesting what is happening here at the top. Now, of course, it will be more about the bottom teams in those upcoming two games, as we will see Once Upon a Team against AURORA. And yeah, exactly. And then Pertinix Esports against Atlas in the last game. And of course, those games especially important because the bottom two teams will also have to go into relegation. So they will have to face off against other teams that want to get into the Elite Series Div 2. And now, Freshtana, you might be asking, how can teams get into Elite Series Division 2?
But how?
Exactly, I will tell it to you. We have a series of tournaments, the amateur tournaments, or Elite Series League of Legends Amateur, as it is called. And one of these tournaments has already been played in February. The next one is actually coming up next weekend, and signups are still open. So if you got a team and you want to try your best, then go ahead and sign up. And then there will another one be in April. All of these tournaments become more and more important, so there can be more points gained already now in the second one as in the first one, and then the third one will be the most important one. And from these tournaments, the best teams can qualify themselves for some playoffs between each other first, where they make sure that they will really have the best teams competing in the relegation, and then there will be a relegation played against the bottom two teams of ESL Div 2. And of course, there are 2 spots up for grabs in this division. So yeah, very interesting what's going on there. And of course, Once Upon a Team and AURORA are going to, or are in a situation where we have to fight to not get into set position. And of course, the names at the top here are still wrong. I just updated that, so it should be in a... Yeah, there we have it. Now it's correct. Once Upon a Team on the blue side and then AURORA on the red side.
Yeah, I think an interesting fact about this matchup is that AURORA already won the first match against them. So it's of course double round robin, which means that every single team plays each other 2 times. And the first match went to AURORA. So basically, Once Upon a Team can bounce back here a little bit and show the world that they get their first win of this tournament, because right now they lost all 8 rounds, which is a little bit sad. So give them all love in the chat that they might bounce back here in this match.
Yeah, definitely. And I think also Once Upon a Team is very like sensible or about the fact that they really have to bounce back in the second half of the split. Like they know they're standing very well, and they are also like acting on that, because I think I just saw today on Twitter that they signed a new head coach. So they will definitely work on themselves to improve further down the line. But let's jump into the pick and ban phase, shall we?
Yes.
And we can see that Wukong, Akali, and Y-Ban on the side of Once Upon a Team. And then Annie, which has been very strong last game for Ioma, didn't quite work out, but has of course been a priority pick these last weeks. And then Caitlyn and Maokai on the side of Aurora.
I need to ask a stupid question, but is Aurelion Sol still banned, or is he open?
I think he should be open. Like I did read through the patch notes and what is banned, and I didn't see anything about Aurelion Sol unless I missed it.
I think he was banned in the second division at one time, but I don't know if he still is banned. Because Spinto from Once Upon a Team played a lot of Aurelion, so he really likes this rework. So it would be amazing to see him, but if he is not open, then of course he is not open. Anyway, we have a lot of frontline and a lot of engage already. I mean, it doesn't get even less because Olaf wants to jump into those team fights as well. So we will have a bloodbath already just from the picks right now. And they definitely want to go both sides for those all-in and team fighting 5v5 kind of team comps. And I definitely see some great ADCs. For example, like a Samira would be a great pickup, or even like a Kaiser would be a great pickup here for Aurora. But you can definitely play whatever you want, and you are already seeing like the Olaf, so you might want to pick a top laner here, or at least show that Sejuani is in the jungle or even on the top lane. But no, there's Saya, so she's strong as well in those team fights, and can definitely at least try to protect herself against the Jarvan, against the Olaf. So she has a lot of peel, so definitely a great pickup here.
Yeah, and I think like what Once Upon a Team already kind of gave away with the Lulu pick is that they want to play more of an hyper carry here on the bot lane, as opposed to Aurora, which have picked the Nautilus. And Aurora immediately now in that banning phase, of course, reacting to that by banning Zeri first. And I think they might even go for a second hyper carry ban here. So maybe they want to take out the Jinx, which has also been buffed lately. Or I don't know if it's already on dispatch, but I think she's getting a buff. And then you of course have the Twitch, which we saw last game. We have the Tristana, of course. But it will be the Varus ban here, which of course also works very well with Lulu, so taking that out for Once Upon a Team.
Yeah, on the flip side, they would just ban out like bad matchups for Olaf, and Kled is definitely a bad matchup. And then Silas, I mean, they have not the greatest ults, not really, but still, they don't want to give something away, and especially, like, maybe they want to pick up one or two great ults now, and then it's always annoying to get Silas last pick, for example. But now there's a top lane matchup already for Olaf, so they wait for their mid laner to have the counter pick. That definitely makes sense. Jax should at least hold the top lane against Olaf. It's not a good matchup, but not a bad one, especially if he gets ahead. Then he can maybe even run Olaf down, but those like flippy 1v1 matchups usually go that way. So if you get ahead, then usually those matchups aren't that bad. But they both kinda counter themselves because the auto attacks don't go through the counter strike, but the stun, which is one of the biggest things Jax wants to do, gets countered by the ult of Olaf. So they kind of both want to fight, but both want not to fight in this matchup.
Yeah, and Once Upon a Team now picking up the Sivir, so that strong AD carry that we talked about, and they will put a Swain on top of that, which worked very well already today for with Slovzen. What tries to copy that now, but they will send it most likely to the mid lane, as I don't think this will be a Lulu mid lane. So yeah, what do you think of the pick now that is being sent to the mid lane? And
yeah, I
in
mean,
general, what do you think of both team comps here?
I mean, it's Vigo mid lane. I mean, it's crazy. I don't know. I never saw the matchup, so it should be good for Swain, but especially with Sejuani, you couldn't go to kill the Swain pre-6. So, I mean, that will definitely a big floppy mid lane matchup where I predict to see some roams from the supports as well, just because that would definitely be a big focus point for both of those teams. So I kind of like Swain, especially if we see the enemy team comp 4 melee champions and a short range ADC. So they will pretty much all be in range of Swain. And with that, Swain, we saw it with Batu, will be really, really strong in those team fights. So it's a good pickup in my opinion. And then the Viego is kind of a little bit fishy, just because he really needs to get a lot of attention and he needs to get those resets going. But if we just check the OP2G from Hexu, he is just a Viego mid lane main. So or at least a Viego mid lane, or at least a Viego player. Maybe he plays some jungle, but I would predict that he definitely plays some Viego mid lane. And I knew, or I know him I know him the whole time, but I knew a Viego mid lane player who played for my team, and Viego mid lane is really funny to see. So definitely something you can get an eye on, and hopefully we see some great plays by him, because like Viego doesn't really need too much mechanics. I mean, you can just stun and auto attack someone, but especially because you need to kind of play every single champion in the game, that makes him really, really skillful. So I quite like good Viegos, and especially with Sejuani, with Nautilus, with the stuns from Jax and from Saya. You can definitely just try to kill one person, get the reset, and hopefully snowball from there.
Yeah, I think mid lane is definitely going to be the matchup of the game here. Also really looking forward to this, but broadening our view onto the entire team comps that have been picked. Farshana, what do you think, who might have won this draft and who is going in with the better team comp here?
I think that Once Upon a Team definitely has good chances. I mean, that could be definitely the game where they win their first match, just because the team comp works so good together, and especially like picks like Olaf and Swain, who sometimes struggle to get into the team fights, just get enabled by the Severe. And then, of course, like the enemy team just tries to get in. So you can always team fight, and they are really, really hard to take down. I mean, you have the Lulu, you have like the spell shield, and then of course Swain is really tanky, and Olaf is really tanky. So it could be hard for Aurora to get this initial burst on someone if a Lulu stands behind, or if they try to go on Swain, who just presses Sonia's, for example. So I think the team comp is maybe easier to play for Aurora, just because kill someone, get a reset, and hopefully win. But I think the team comp of Once Upon a Team is a little bit more flexible and definitely well-rounded. So that could be the first win for Once Upon a Team, just from draft at least.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I also think that Once Upon a Team has had a stronger draft here, especially. I don't fuss on this Viego mid too much. I mean, it can definitely be a good pickup in some matchups, but against a Swain, I don't know so much, especially because we have already seen today how it is not working, like having melee champions into a Swain. So yeah, I really don't know what Aurora was thinking there. Maybe they will prove us wrong. Haxu will definitely try to, as we're starting now into this game between Aurora and Once Upon a Team, an important fight about these middle or bottom spaces of the standings, and of course making sure that you don't hit relegations, or at least you don't hit them in the last spot in the case of Once Upon a Team.
I think one thing we shouldn't forget is that Haxu just last picked it. So he saw the whole team comps, and he was confident enough to say, yeah, give me my main. Because something people usually forget, if a player like Haxu just plays Viego in every single matchup, has a lot of experience in it, but how many games have Spinto against Viego mid lane? Like, He maybe doesn't even is familiar with the matchup, and Haxu maybe played it once or twice on solo queue already, so he has definitely the advantage in that regard, that he knows like how to play against a control mage, how to play against a tanky control mage, and so Spintu maybe isn't prepared for the burst, isn't prepared for the trades, which Haxu might get out. So that's something which is going for Haxu's favor.
Yeah, totally. I agree, and I think we really have to see how this will go, because I mean, I'm more of the side of the Swain here, just because we already saw how well it works. But as you said, you cannot forget that he decided actively to pick this into the Swain. So we will see how it goes. Other matchups we haven't talked about as much just yet. So what do you think, for example, of the bot lane matchup we will see here?
Yeah, I mean,
as we have the engage here now. Very nice route there onto Aska. A lot of damage coming out. Ignite is ticking as well. Shield might just do the job as Nihil gets on top of that, and Aska gets out of danger here safely. But of course, very well played from AURORA, getting some ground there and getting out a lot of summoner spells out of Once Upon a Team.
we will not analyze something because both jungles are top lane. There could be like a double kill coming.
Yeah, there we have the engage from the top laner of AURORA, but Arundel immediately gets caught. There's the first blood going to the Sejuani, and they will get the double kill there on the side of AURORA, as they also take down the Jarvan, and Octomalus, surviving on the brink of his life. But it will just do the job for them. Very nice double kill. Now another hook here on the bot lane. Both these teams showing us a lot more action in the first 3 minutes than we have seen in the first minutes of other games today.
That's true. I mean, they really want to fight, and I mean that's really a fist fight right now. They just want blood, and I really like those matches just because we have a lot to see, and there's even a Nautilus in a rush, so maybe we see a sneaky hook. But no, maybe not. Anyway, bot lane matchup, we already saw that usually ranged supports are a little bit stronger against melee supports if they don't get caught and if they can poke a lot. And in this case, even though CV has a spell shield, she still got hooked. So really well played there by Mirai, just to get this clutch hook. And with that, both summoners, of course, from Xivia. So that matchup should be favorable for AURORA in terms of if both lanes have like full life and they find the clutch engage, for example. But especially in the early game, the bot lane of Once Upon a Team has more pressure. They just range versus melee. They have more wave clear, and so they have a lot of more pressure in the early game. And with that, maybe even the potential to go for some Drakes, for example. That's usually the way with the pushing bot lane.
Yeah, as you said, we can also see already here the dominance of the ranged support, as Once Upon a Team constantly tries to push in AURORA there. However, they were just now able to get that push out a little bit in order to get themselves a window to go back here. And then, of course, AURORA will now ping that Drake, so Sejuani also following up, going to the bottom jungle, and with that AURORA with a little bit more tempo here. Jarvan just now took his back and will also go towards the top lane here.
Yeah, and especially with the bot lane tree. So we see that Once Upon a Team tried to punish the recalls with this freeze. But if you are freezing, you have no pressure left for the Drake, for example. So it's a good decision for AURORA to maybe start a Baron, maybe start a Drake, if you have the opportunity for that, because the enemy lane is freezing. There could something happen on the top lane, but I think Jax is safe enough and can always jump to a backline minion if he really gets engaged. So I wouldn't expect too much But maybe he goes in, and that's
Oh, he actually is. Arundel with a very nice bait there now, and Octomanus without his Q to disengage here, and that will be another kill there. Going to the Olaf there on the top lane, but action goes on the bot lane where Aska gets really low once again, but is able to save himself into the security of his tower. Play might, however, not be over just yet, as Broda is also coming to the bot lane. So Aurora in the best position here to maybe get a dive onto Toto. However, they decide against that, or maybe just want to do it with 2 people here. Healer's already coming out to just get a little bit more health, but not enough damage there onto Toto, as Miwai needs to disengage the tower there. But at least Sejuani started the Drake already, so that has to go in the way of Aurora.
yeah, and Toto just outplayed it under the turret, especially with the movement, just always trying to be between the turret and Mirai, that he can't hook you because he would just hook the turret. And in the end, he needed to step a little bit too far to them, but the hook just hit the minion, so he could survive this the tower dive, and in the end, just survived the situation. But still, Drake went for Aurora, and the whole early game just really is clean at the moment by them. Especially, I mean, we have range versus melee mid lane, and still the Vigo is CS is ahead in CS. Normally, a ranged champion can deny CS because you are ranged, but in this time, the Vigo main just knows how to play the lane, and he gets a lot of CS. Especially, I don't know if you saw the trades, but every time when if Spinto just throws out his root, then Hexu just dashes to one of the 2 sides, so he can always just dodge it with his own stun and just doesn't get poked.
And now the next play here from Aurora. The entire squad is there to take down the support. Nice hook there from Mirai. Going for another kill there on the Olaf. So Aurora definitely taking revenge for the top lane play earlier by just annihilating both the support and the top laner from Once Upon a Team. And now Jax will probably also get some juicy platings out of that. And of course, they also get Rift Herald on top of that. And what? Not really able to look for any kind of cost map play here.
Yeah, and it's hard. It's hard, man. Maybe there's something brewing up in the mid lane.
Yeah, what is definitely going in. Jarvan ultimate is coming out, but it won't be enough. The damage. Haxu immediately flashes out there. And now with Broda also coming down from Aurora, play is pretty much over, but there is the Swain ultimate being popped now, and with Toto also coming in, will it be enough? Yeah, there's the shutdown for Spinto, so at least they get 1 kill out of that. They will try to go for Haxu there as well, but now the rest of Aurora is also coming in with their bot lane there. Now what has to disengage there, but that was a nice juicy kill there for Once Upon a Team. Definitely comes in handy, as Jax almost solo kills Arundel there on the top lane.
Yeah, and that's the difference between Divine Thunder and Boots. Like, so much damage coming out of the trades, just because he had a little bit more like help. He already had to platings, to kills, to assists. So, and of course he just used all of his gold for offensive stats, like he even didn't bought boots because he have the magical footwear for free.
Ooh, and now Sejuani coming in with the ultimate there. Immediately the ultimate behind that from Olaf. But will that be enough to disengage the situation? In the meantime, also the dive here from Aurora on the bot lane onto Aska, who is getting under the tower a little bit safetier there. So no kills in both these situations for Aurora, but at least they will get the top lane tower.
Yeah, and they're playing around a good matchup, they're playing around a good player, so just helping him out. It's one of the lanes you can always gank, just because 2 melee champions, they're always prowling. And now they try to go and Spinto.
Yeah, trying to catch Haxu there, but of course the rest of Aurora is still around, and Spinto will pay for that with his life. And yeah, there goes another kill towards Aurora, which by now have also assembled a 4k gold lead in this early game. Now maybe the return. Oh no, actually it's once again AURORA going for the engage there. Polymorph won't last long enough to make those feathers less deadly, but at least they get the AD carry there of AURORA in return. So it's a 1-for-1 trade, and I think Once Upon a Team can be happy with that.
Yeah, it's like always, if you are the team who is behind, trading even is always a good thing to do. In this case, sadly, you traded like an ADC kill for a support kill, so it didn't help too much for Once Upon a Team, but still, it's something, and you can work with that. But oh no, this face check could be deadly.
Ooh, yeah, there's a Jax going behind there, and that's going to be a dead errand deal on his Olaf.
Yeah, and that's like I said, the top laner gets a little bit more attention, a little bit more kills, can usually snowball from that. Oh, good try.
Yeah, another engage here at the Drake River. And there is a lot of damage going the way of the Jarvan. That's going to be the first kill. Splinter, however, in a lot of problems there as well. And his ultimate will not be enough to save him from that. There's a lot of life stream coming from that. But sometimes it's just not enough. Now Haxu going in once more there onto Toto. Beautiful use of that Swain mimic he had. And now getting there another kill. AURORA now really, putting up the tempo here. We'll get another Drake, we'll get some damage on that tier 1 Dara there in the mid lane.
Yeah, and Haxu especially played it perfectly. I mean, he waited as long as he could with his snare, and especially he didn't just throw it out to Lulu, where she could have tried to sidestep it, but he waited until he was in the brush and until Lulu was in the choke point. So he just threw it there where she couldn't dodge it and where she couldn't see it because he was in the brush. And with that, he just caught her, got the second stun up, and they killed Lulu, I think, or maybe not. But still, it was well played by them. And now we see a big problem because we have just a really fat Jax and a really fat like everyone. I mean, they all are ahead. They all have a lot more farm than the opposing side, and with that they will probably just snowball from here, and there are not that many ways for Once Upon a Team to really get back into the game, and especially like a Drake situation is bad for them. I mean, it's 2 Drakes to 0. They didn't really get anything right now in this game, and with a team comp where like an Olaf who's behind isn't really that strong, like Jarvan who's behind isn't really that tanky and strong, even a Swain. Like, he was tanky when Batu played him because he got 3 kills in the early game. But in this case, he's just like a mage who has a little bit more tank stats. And that's just not enough to survive like 4 people, for example.
Yeah, I totally agree. Also now kicking in the... what's it called? The gold where you can get back. No team ever does.
It's comeback gold. No, it's bounty. Bounties on objectives.
Yeah.
It's objective bounties. That's it called.
The objectives bounties kicking in here from what? In general, what's your take on objective bounties?
I like them. I mean, better than nothing if you are the team who is behind, right? I mean, and it gives the chances for comebacks. And in my opinion, like comebacks are one of the greatest things in League of Legends, just because you can always win, never surrender. And with objective bounties, you at least get a little chance to have more comeback games. And it doesn't really hurt the opposing team, because if they snowball it correctly, then the other side shouldn't get those bounties. I mean, if you have just pressure on all lanes, then they can't really siege your turrets, and if you just have always the move because you have more pressure, then you are always on the objective first and can secure them, so they...
Haxu now really going here behind Toto, will also now get the kill, as Pinto is of course trying to join and help the support, but will pay for that with his own life here as well. So that's 2 more kills going to Aurora. And yeah, with that, the chances for Watt still to win this game are getting smaller and smaller. And the comeback that we are all wishing for, that we just talked about, probably not going to happen this time around. Nice Hexash flash there from Rewrite over the wall. The hook does connect, but of course there was a spell shield, so not really. But now the NGH there a little bit from Watt as well. The Jarvan tries to go into the backline, but gets bursted right down, and Octopus Malus there on the other side in the backline, of course, as the turret is falling first here, will get shut down there. So also a 1-for-1 trade kind of here for Watt, so that's pretty fine for them.
Yeah, I mean, that's cool. Big shutdown going to Spinto. But still, as an analyst, I would say like the chances for Once Upon a Team to win this game are like there are not even maybe chances. I mean if Aurora's then that's sad, but if Aurora just plays it correctly, then like, this game is pretty much over. I mean it's the most dominant game today at least. Like we have 12k or 11k gold lead after just 17 minutes. I mean, they just play it clean, they just snowball, and you haven't really that great like champions who can really scale. I mean, Sivir kinda scales in the late game, and even Swain has a little bit of scaling, but you have not the biggest hyper carry for Lulu, and then all your melee champions just really fell down in the late game, so I really don't see like any chances of comeback, and like this is the third Drake now for Aurora, so the Soul will be spawning at minute 23, and I think with just Baron and Soul they will just cleanly win a team fight, and after that just finish.
And that team fight might happen right now as Sejuani with the ultimate is going for the engage there. No kill just yet as Splinto is going into the backline, dealing a lot of damage to Haxu, but it won't just be enough as Sejuani is falling. This is actually looking good here for Watt, who are getting the first kill here. UI has to flash out there as well, so very nice counterplay there from Once Upon a Team.
Yeah, do you know what the problem was? First, Jax is playing Ignite and Flash, so he has no teleport, so he wasn't there. So it was a really good timing there from Once Upon a Team to find and engage 4v5, and especially Splinto played that remarkably, just tanking all the people and then in the end just surviving with the stopwatch. So definitely well played by him in the mid lane. But I mean, in the end, it is one kill. Yeah, so I will not change my mind about there's no comeback. But yeah, they try their hardest, and like I said, if you wait for Soul and for Baron and play it cleanly, then you will win. But if you just engage 4v5 randomly in the jungle and you get counter-engaged, then you might drop some kills. So I think Aurora definitely has all the chances in the world to just play it cleanly and just get the win in this. But with those messy fights and a little bit of luck, Once Upon a Team might get 1% from me. Might. But it looks really, really dark for them. And that's so sad to say as an analyst, but I mean, if a team just plays it cleanly, then you have no comeback opportunity. Just because when they play it clean, you can't win. So, and usually a team with such a big gold lead, it would be really silly to say that they will drop this gold lead, right? So, yeah, it's just a rough situation for Once Upon a Team, I might say.
You're just not a believer, Verstana.
I am. I would never surrender, but it's a hard game. It's a really hard game.
I will believe in Once Upon a Team here. They will stop this Baron somehow without being there, and then they will start their rise to the top of the league.
Yeah.
No, of course, with Aurora gaining here another Baron, it's starting to look really dire for Once Upon a Team, as they can now use that to really siege out the base and break that open. Watt here, of course, now in the mid lane, doing some pressure, dealing a little bit of damage, But 2 members of Aurora already got their reset now. And yeah, they will start pushing in now.
Yeah, and like SK played that really aggressive. I mean, standing in front of 3 people who can stun you and just auto attacking them as the front line. I mean, he had some coronas, I would say. Just knowing that he might survive that even if he get engaged. Just going and that's the beauty
He has a
good
spell
ADCs.
shield,
Yeah, but I
okay?
mean, especially against 3 champions. Good luck with that. I mean, there's a Nautilus ult, a hook, a stun by Sichuan, a stun by Viego. I mean, you can't spell shield them all, right? But yeah, and that's the beauty of good ADCs. Like they know exactly when and where they can deal damage and know when to get out. So this walking on the edge of damage is just always great to see, and Esker tries his hardest to not give up this game.
I think in general, what does now beautifully trying to meet the push here of Aurora, but of course they have 3 lanes coming in, and with them being the stronger team, what will sooner or later have to focus their defenses onto one of them. And yeah, it looks like Aurora now wants to push even more in the mid lane. But so far, Once Upon a Team doing not too bad of a job defending this. They haven't lost the tower yet, they haven't lost an inhibitor yet, they didn't get nervous looking for an engage or something like that.
Yeah. I mean, the problem with that is that Aurora just doesn't give them an opening. Like I said, if you play clean, then the enemy shouldn't have any chance for a comeback, and if you just doesn't get engaged, and if you just not overextend and just try to overforce it on Aurora, then Once Upon a Team can only just sit under the turret and wait. And the waiting game sadly comes to an end because Soul is spawning, and like with this Hex track, with this Gemtech Drake
Gemtech.
Soul, I mean they just will get much more tanky, and
This time you won't get a sleek
No.
overlay.
yeah, indie company, not this time. Yeah, it's funny. But yeah, I mean it's so hard, and this Soul just, I mean, it's not that fancy because you can't see it. It doesn't make a shield, or it doesn't make like damage or something. But it's just numbers in the background. But those numbers are really strong, and it just makes them all stronger and tankier, and make them make some more damage. And especially for Jax, for example, who dives in the backline, it's really hard to kill him if he jumps in, because he just gets tanked in one shot too, basically.
Yeah. Also, the Baron from Aurora has expired now. They haven't been able to crack open the base from Once Upon a Team. So, unlike the Unbeliever Frashana, I still have some hope from them. But of course, there's a 13k gold lead. Speaking against my words, as we're speaking, and what is also Aurora is also taxing, of course, the entire jungle of Once Upon a Team, and now Haxa, who is going in here for the kill on the Olaf, who needs to use his ultimate there to maybe disengage, but the slow just in time to actually be effective, and there needs to be a flash in order to save Arundel.
And that's actually huge for the side lane for Aurora, because now even Jax can just run at Olaf and probably kill him. Because with both summoners, he might get enough time out to survive, or that someone else comes. But without Ghost and without Flash, Jax has at least 2 gap closers to come close, and then he will just get 2 or 3 autos in, and now the chase is on. But nobody can reach him. I mean, that's on the hunt wasn't fast enough to reach Jax.
Yeah, but in the end, it's still fine because they are trying to now maybe the re-engage here from Aurora, though. They are going in deeply there, but everybody's still alive there from what, as they are trying to dive the backline themselves. Jarvan, however, falling now, and this is starting to look good for Aurora as they gain the Swain as well. With that 3 kills actually already going there to towards their favor, and that could be game if they play it well now. If they play it safe, they will only take an inhibitor and then go for the reset, as Asuka and Toto are still there. And of course, Xavier can quickly try to clear these waves, and they will go for the safe route here.
Yeah.
Going for the reset, only taking the mid lane inhibitor.
And I think that's a smart decision by Aurora. Just because, I mean, you are sitting at one of the lower places of this league, just with 2 wins, and just throwing such a safe win away just by finishing it 1 minute earlier or something wouldn't really be the play. So it's a safe win if you play it correctly. So just go for the next 2 objectives, and after that finish. So you are not in a in a situation where you really need to close it as fast as possible. Enemy team isn't really scaling while you are scaling, so you can just take all the time in the world. And I mean, probably they could have even finished it there when they are at a 5v2 under the Nexus turrets. They probably could have done it, but why should they? So just go for the cleanest play you can, just to get back to the top of the league, and especially in such a victory, you don't want to throw it away.
Uneko trying to go for a very cocky engage here, immediately gets punished for that. Arundel going right behind him, but will as well be taken down immediately. This seems to be Once Upon a Team's last defense, but it's not going well for them, as their Swain is being taken out here as well. Lorne, just quickly saving himself with his own ultimate there, and gets the Lulu as a reward, as Haxu is now trying to get the last kill there. There's the clean ace. That's going to be game here from Aurora against Once Upon a Team. And at the end, it was a 20k gold lead. They did have Soul. They could have gone, or they went for another Baron there. And yeah, in general, very, very dominant play from Aurora.
Yeah, and nothing to set more. I mean, they just got like some really good plays in the early game. Just especially this double kill top lane was really important to keep snowballing. And after that, like Once Upon a Team couldn't really get into that game. Like not a single play really worked out. And then in the end, there was some good team fights where they traded 1-for-1 or even 1-for-0, but it's just not enough. League of Legends is not about kills, it's about objectives, and they sadly did not get a single objective. And in the end, that's sadly not enough to win such a round. And with that, Aurora has 3 wins and came back a little bit in the league in terms of standing.
Yeah, exactly. With that, we will also go into a quick break before the last game of the day between Pertinax Esports and it should be Adverse, of course, which is also an important one, especially for Pertinax, which are still in the one for the playoffs and will try to make their way up there. Of course, also use that break to donate to ABAP, which are doing important work in Turkey and Syria. Syria. For the earthquake victims. And yeah, you can use the PayPal code here up on screen, or also use just the chat command !donate to learn a little bit more about that. And as I said, with that, we go into a quick break and we will see each other for the last game of today.